What's happening, everyone? I hope you are doing well. Welcome back to another video on the channel. You're with Noor here, and in this video I'm going to be going over the daily revenue control system that you can install within your business to allow you to understand your day-to-day revenue within as little as 15 minutes. Now, before we get into the video itself, I'll just reintroduce myself here in case you've yet to have the displeasure of meeting me. I was the former head of operations for a company called Imperium Acquisition. This company is my absolute baby, even though I wasn't a founder per se. I was in the ecosystem for 6 years, 2 years as a client, 4 years as an operations manager. And in those 4 years, I helped the company go from 100K a month all the way to 700K a month cash at its peak. I also helped grow the team from a team of 5 to a team of 40 by the time I had left. And I supported fulfillment across 4,000 clients over 4 years across various verticals within the coaching, consulting, course selling, and marketing agency space. And above all this, I built the systems that help the founders scale without becoming the bottleneck. And that is exactly what this channel is for, because now I'm helping others do the exact same, allowing you to have the exact same systems, principles, frameworks to allow you to scale without being the bottleneck, okay? That's the main purpose of this channel. Outside of this, I want to expand my network beyond the corner of my living room, as it's just me, myself, and I, and ultimately build goodwill before I inevitably try to sell you something. The game is the game. I hope you appreciate the honesty. Now, if you're new here, preemptive disclaimers. My voice is boring as shit, so if you're struggling to sleep, you're in dreamland, just pop some magnesiums in and then partner it with these vids. It'll probably fix your apnea. I'm an absolute rambler, if you can't tell already. I'm working on it. And there's no magic fix it, get rich quick pill in these videos. Message me if you find one. I have been searching for 8 years. Now let's boogie. So the reason this video in particular exists, guys, is to ultimately give you as a founder a cleaner way to see what is happening in sales daily. Alongside this is to stop revenue visibility depending on memory, because that's just a nightmare. Random Slack updates or gut feeling, which is the worst. It's also designed to show you where sales performance is actually being created or lost, help you stay close to revenue without becoming the bottleneck, and create control without micromanagement. Now, the things this video is going to cover the daily revenue control structure, what setters should report each day, what sales rep should report each day, what the sales manager should summarize for the founder, if you have a sales manager, how revenue generated and cash collected should be tracked separately, goes without saying, where daily reporting usually breaks down so you can be aware of what tends to happen, how to keep the reporting cadence simple, useful, and action-led. Now, when this would become relevant for you, when you move beyond founder-led selling, where again, you're out of the sales picture and you don't really know what's going on, when you add setters into the sales process, when you have multiple sales reps, when you hire a sales manager, when you introduce payment plans, when the pipeline becomes harder to trust because, of the growth and whatnot, and when you keep getting surprised at the end of the month where you think you have one number here, but then at the end of the month, your cash and revenue are totally different from what you thought it was, okay? Now, what you'll be able to see differently after this video, you'll see if your calendar is full of the right calls, whether the issue at hand is booking volume, booking quality, show rate, close rate, follow-up, whatever it may be, or cash collection, whether reps are underperforming or receiving poor inputs, whether revenue pace is slipping early enough to act, that's a big one, whether generated revenue is turning into collected cash, whether your manager is surfacing the right signal, if you do have a sales manager, and where the actual constraint in your all-round sales system actually sits. And as a result of these would allow you to avoid these decisions, which would consist of digging through Slack every day to understand sales, without just a high-level overview, micromanaging the team because visibility feels unclear, waiting until month end to realize the business was actually off pace, blaming the wrong person or the layer of the team, overriding the sales manager unnecessarily, adding more metrics to feel just more in control, the worst thing you can do, and turning yourself back into the person who has to reconstruct reality every day when you simply don't want to do that, okay? Now, the reason why we have this system to begin with, and it's tied into daily reporting because it's labeled as the daily revenue control system, is because it's not necessarily just about tracking activity. It's about protecting your revenue, identifying problems early, creating accountability, giving you, the founder, complete peace of mind, knowing everything's all good on a day-to-day basis, and also preserving forecast accuracy. If your reporting structure across your company doesn't reduce cognitive load for leadership, then you've built it incorrectly. Now, when it comes to structuring a daily report cadence around sales visibility, the hierarchy is very simple. The reps will report activity and output. Setters will report pipeline input and booking quality. Managers will report, signal, pace, and risk. And you, at the end of the day, as a CEO, you'll receive clarity. Now, when this is properly installed and you've got it set up, you as the founder should be able to open up Slack and understand the state of sales within your business within minutes, okay? Now, here's why revenue visibility breaks as you scale. When you have one closer, visibility is informal. You can literally get away with it. The usual cadence tends to look like the following. You talk, you check Stripe, and you feel momentum. As an operator, whilst this gives me secondhand anxiety, and I know loads of people who's currently doing this, some of you are probably watching this right now, please stop. You can indeed get away with it because you're operating at such a small scale and you're within close proximity of the metrics. So it's not necessarily the end of the world per se. However, the minute you add the following, people such as setters, multiple reps, sales managers, and things such as payment plans and pipeline depth, informal visibility quite literally collapses, okay? This doesn't lose control, overnight. This happens gradually. Your show rate dips without you knowing, booking quality degrades without you knowing, pipeline gets inflated without you knowing, revenue pace slips without you knowing, and cash lags behind reported revenue without you knowing, okay? This then leads you to have anxiety, causing you to do one of the following. Dig through Slack daily, start micromanaging, wait until the end of the month to discover reality, or pray and hope things turn around. And as much of a religious man I am, you can't just sit and pray and do nothing about things, okay? So praying is not the answer in isolation. Now, sadly, none of these things, scale whatsoever, okay? It's just not scalable. Therefore, this module has been designed to install a daily revenue control system that gives you the following: immediate clarity, early warning signals, forecast confidence, reduced anxiety, control without micromanagement, and the best thing you can have as a business owner is peace, okay? The daily sales reporting cadence I'll show you is not just standard admin, it's designed to create you a proper revenue infrastructure. So something so simple that you're about to see here, you'll probably be thinking, oh my God, no, this is so basic. We didn't need any, crazy advanced AI or CRMs or, softwares to get this. No, absolutely not. This is just a matter of getting reporting in place on Slack, which, majority of you people would have, or whatever communication tool you have, and just getting the reports in place on a day-to-day basis and reading them, which will take you 10 to 15 minutes, okay? For us, at our peak, we had like 8 sales reps, for example, and then 1 sales manager, and then I think like 3 setters at one point when we had a big team and a big outbound team. I say big, it's only 3 setters. But long story short, it literally took, Charlie and Bo, who are the founders, about 20 to 30 minutes a day, okay? Not even that long. So yeah. Now let's get into this. The revenue control architecture. So it's important to understand that revenue tends to flow through 3 layers, okay? The first layer is traffic source, booking, and show. Then we transition to the second layer, which consists of, an offer being made, a close happening, and cash landing. And then the third layer is executive signal, okay? So there's 3 key reporting roles across these layers. Now, first one is your DM setter, if you have one, which will give you pipeline input. Second one is your sales rep, who will let you know of the conversion and cash metrics. And your sales manager will let you know of the data in its most compressed form, and it's labeled as executive compression here because that's exactly what it is. With structured reporting across these 3 different roles, you're able to get a clear picture of your day-to-day revenue health within a matter of minutes. Now, really important to note here, for some of you watching this, you may not have a sales manager in place yet. That's perfectly fine. You would simply consume the rep and setter reports yourself, which doesn't take long whatsoever, okay? When you do eventually get a manager, you can then consume their report in isolation, and that will give you all the clarity that's needed. Now let's get into the Setter daily reporting to begin with. Okay, so the purpose behind this is to ultimately protect booking quality and future revenue flow. Why? Because poor setting silently destroys your close rate and call flow, and this layer must be visible daily. Now, one thing to note that's quite important, depending on what setting system you're running, whether it's DMs, phone setting, inbound, outbound, whatever it may be, you can adjust the KPIs accordingly. The key behind these reporting templates and examples I'm giving you is that you more so understand the theory behind the numbers of what you're tracking, so that you aren't just tracking numbers without knowing the premise behind them, okay? So this is what the daily activity snapshot would look like, and you'd basically have a Slack channel labeled as, set a daily report, close a daily report, and then your sales manager would have their own individual channel as well. So it's 3 separate channels, and within each channel they'll submit their report. And this is what the setters one would look like. Firstly, we look at their daily activity snapshot, which is basically what they've done on the day. The DM sent, new people interested, new triage, new calendar lead, new bookings, follow-up sent, all leads re-engaged. Again, a couple of these things can be tweaked depending on what setting system you've actually got in place. Now, the reason the above matters in this context is because DM sent signals effort, interested signals quality, triage signals, qualification discipline, booking signal calendar input, and follow-up signal seriousness and setter intent. Then the second layer of this is month-to-date performance. You do month-to-date bookings, month-to-date shows, show rate, sets closed, revenue generated, cash collected. Now, the reason why month-to-date data matters in the eyes of the setter and both closers, which we'll get to after, is because of the fact that setters and closers can lose track of what they've done on a grand scale and therefore lose motivation plus momentum. On the flip side, one good day can cause them to think they're doing better than they are, and thus a monthly reminder of their performance allows them to continuously push hard. Now, the reason why setters must report on revenue, because even though setters aren't in control, of what actually happens on the sales call with their sets, they still must visibly see the revenue impact that their sets have. Otherwise, they'll optimize for volume only, which can then lead to low intent calls on the calendar. We experienced similar about 2 years ago, where we had someone managing Instagram inbound, and this was no fault of their own. They're incredible. It's just that, we were optimizing for volume, and because we were giving him free reins, he literally got anyone in. And the anyone, based off of the data that we got in, it just consisted of bad leads, and the conversion rate showed that because we simply couldn't close any, not due to a lack of sales ability, but because the prospect was not a good fit. And another thing to know, coming back to month-to-date data, but guys, really important is the good day and bad day dynamic, because sometimes you can have a good day, sometimes you can have a bad day, and it can throw you off, okay? It could make you, higher than the moon, and then it could make you feel, lower than you actually are. That's why it's good for your team members to have a zoomed out view of how well they're actually doing, so that they stay motivated and they stay moving forward. Then the third part of the report and the final part is systems integrity. So this is relative to ensuring that, the systems are all up to par and everything is up to scratch. Are my call notes and recordings in Slack? If they're a phone setter, is my tracking sheet up to date? The reason we have this in their report is because as they're doing their report, if they haven't done it, it serves as an internal reminder, and they'll actually proceed to update their sheets prior to submitting their report. Ensuring they're relevant, this then ensures that their relevant trackers are up to date. And one thing about this is across all the roles, this is non-negotiable, okay? Non-negotiable, their trackers must be up to date. Now here's a setter daily report in full view. Again, you can adjust this depending on the type of process your setters are currently running. You can pause the video and you can have a look at it. It's literally what we just went over here, but again, in full view without me breaking up each section. Now let's get into sales rep daily reporting. Okay, the purpose behind this is to track conversion efficiency, pipeline health, and real stone cold cash. The reason being is because revenue problems rarely start with zero closes. And the root cause tends to begin with, declining conversion, and you can start to pinpoint this straight from your rep reports. So the first part of this is the daily activity. Dates, bookings, total calls taken, new calls, offers made, bad fits, no offer, no shows, cancels, reschedules, dragovers, follow-up sent, pipeline deals touched. The reason why these KPIs are important is because calls alone rarely signal anything, and you need a clear picture of the full pipeline so that you can see the movement across the board and see what's truly going on. Then the second layer of this is the revenue output for the day. So this is where you go over the units closed, deposits taken, revenue generated, and cash collected. Revenue is theory, cash is reality. Secure data for both. Again, one theme that you'll find from my channel, I don't like revenue. I don't like contracted revenue because, again, that just signals cash that hasn't even landed, let alone, cash before profits. But that's a whole different discussion. So long story short, make sure you secure data for both here. Conversion metrics, show rate, close rate, off rate. If a rep doesn't know their own close rate, and they should, because I'm assuming you'll have some sort of tracking in place, accurate tracking per se. If you don't, then DM me. They're quite literally playing the guessing game, okay? These numbers separate effort from skill. Then part of the report is call breakdown, all calls including no-shows. If it was no-show, they'd simply mark it as a no-show. This is just giving context on each call. And then their month-to-date performance. Their month-to-date close rate, units for the month, rev generated for the month, cash collected for the month, PPV for the month. Is my tracking sheet up to date and 100% accurate? Similar cadence to the setters, it holds reps accountable to their monthly performance and goals versus them being demoralized from one bad day or too overly excited from one good day. This is super important, especially for your sales reps, because they can literally have, depending on how much call volume you have, they can have 8 calls back to back where it's just no, and they could just collapse completely. That's why they need to zoom out and look how they're doing for the month, because actually their monthly numbers can signal an actual consistent performance and the fact that they're doing quite well. And then the final part is self-diagnosis. Here's where the reps will just summarize the following for the day: what went well, what costed me deals, what improves tomorrow. Ownership and accountability prevents excuses. We had a great culture revolving around this, where not just sales reps, but across the board, everyone was very accountable. Now, one thing to note here is that, and this is extremely important, there's a toxic side to ownership and extreme accountability, in which high performers will continuously blame themselves when in reality there are external factors at play which is causing their lack of performance. So for example, the lead quality being genuine garbage, or there not being any call volume whatsoever. I've seen this firsthand, and it's your responsibility as a founder to be able to understand and determine whether it's truly a performance issue on the side of the rep, or if it's something else causing a dip in performance. Because if you continuously preach accountability without reason, then it will breed a toxic culture. Reps will get burned out, and they will ultimately fall into the trap of thinking they're not good enough, when in reality, it's the systems around them that is hindering their performance. We literally had a team of 5 reps at one point, all high performers, all above KPI, all absolutely crushing it, and all, individuals who had extreme ownership and accountability, literally blaming themselves for the lack of call volume on their calendar. Now, whilst the accountability is appreciated, that's nonsensical, and it can actually do them more harm than good from an intrinsic standpoint, because, there's only so much they can do in terms of call volume. Yes, they can pick up the phones and dial calls on the calendars, but at the end of the day, marketing is responsible for flooding their calendars with calls. And during a set period, we were just struggling to get calls in for whatever reason. So hopefully that point is drilled into your heads, guys, because that's actually quite important from a mental standpoint, especially for your reps, because closing is the hardest job in this space, at least in my opinion. And this is a sales reps report in full view. You can pause and can have a look at it to see how it looks. Now, the final report that you'll get in is your sales manager's report, okay? And this will eliminate you from things entirely, and you just have to look at your sales manager's one. Now, if you don't have a sales manager yet, it's perfectly fine. You can gauge a clear understanding of what's going on by simply looking at your rep or setter reports yourself. It really doesn't take that long. When you start scaling beyond 2 to 3 reps, you ideally want to get a manager in place to ensure quality assurance across both performance and reporting, so that you're not handcuffed to the growth of the business. The purpose behind this is to ultimately compress everything into Signal for you as the founder, okay? The goal behind the Signal report is that if you as the founder were to look at one report and one report alone, this is the one it will be, and it will give you all you need. Now, from the lens of a sales manager, it should only take them 10 to 15 minutes max. Now, here's how their report would be structured. It will be revenue and pace for the month, MTD revenue, cash collect. And by the way, guys, MTD is obviously month to date, but I'm just, letting you know in case that was unclear. MTD revenue, cash collected MTD, monthly revenue target, show rate MTD, close rate MTD, on pace, yes or no, revenue gap if behind. This gives you immediate visibility on whether you're on track for the month or not. Leading indicators for the day. This is a health check. Bookings today, show rate today, close rate today, PPV today. Any red flags? Yes, no, brief explanation. Then the dips in revenue will show here long before they show up in your Stripe account for you to see at random. So if you don't have something like this in place yet, you'll start to see how this visibility gives you control, because then it saves you from looking at your Stripe account and going, oh my God, what happened? Well, if you looked at the reports like or you had reports to begin with, you would see that this was coming up. Performance flags, any underperforming reps, root cause intervention today. And a note on this is that actual managers report on action, not just observation. This way, you know that the reps beneath the manager are being looked after and they're being taken care of accordingly. Now, one thing to note is be wary of micromanaging. Don't get them to give you a full picture of what they're doing with the reps, as there's no need to. If you hired a sales manager, you should trust in their ability to manage accordingly. Otherwise, you've either hired the wrong one, or you should just do it yourself until you start to trust someone. This then comes back to the principle of just making key hires and getting out of their way. Simple as that. And then an executive summary. This is where your sales manager would give you a summary on the day or month as a whole, and should you allow you to gauge the following: Are we safe? Where's the leak? Who's underperforming? Is the forecast intact? Any key feedback from reps on lead quality, product feedback, anything else that they feel would be relevant to you. Now, from the sales manager's report alone, you should be able to get a solid understanding of the entire company from a sales/revenue standpoint for the day and month, allowing you to have a pulse of things on a day-to-day basis without being lost in the weeds. Now, here's the sales manager's report in full view. Again, they'll have their own channel where they'll submit this. Now, here's where this system breaks and how to actually fix it. Even with something as simple as the above, the reporting system can fail due to various failure points, okay? Below are the common causes and how to actually fix them, as well as prevent them in advance. The first one being reps input the data incorrectly. The problem that you'll probably face is that the numbers don't match the CRM, close rate calculations are off, and pipeline is overstated amidst everything else that can occur. When this happens, the system starts to collapse as it consists of skewed data. Now, the reason why this happens is because it usually stems from sloppy tracking habits on the rep's part, intentional inflation, highly unlikely. I've never seen this happen. And again, I've worked with 30 closers at this point in the past 4 years at our company. This never happened. Not a single one would ever do this. But again, I'm just putting it here for the sake of reasoning, just in case it does happen, as it could happen, even though it's rare. Lack of training, CRM's not structured properly, whatever it may be. Now, the solutions to this is define one single source of truth, usually the CRM, get your manager to audit reports weekly against the CRM, automate calculations where possible to reduce human error, publicly correct inconsistencies early. This will cause others to be more mindful. And again, it goes without saying, do this in an educational manner, not in a scolding or belittling manner, truly an educational one where you go, hey, Noor actually done this in his report, or he done this way in his report. That's not the way to do it, guys. And I was just explaining the reason not to do it this way is because of this. This is how to do it, blah, blah, blah. So in that manner, rather than scolding someone, okay? And then also tie report accuracy to performance standards. So for example, if reporting is not done correctly, reps get fined, comms get docked, whatever it may be. We had the same thing, I should say, for payroll, where if, for example, they don't get their payroll sheets on time and properly, when I say payroll sheets, it's their commission trackers. If they don't get their commission trackers on time correctly by like the second, they're not getting paid until next month. Now that seems extreme, okay? But the reason we done that was because we were receiving the sheets late on a consistent basis until we put that in motion. And as you can imagine, everyone was literally sending it the first thing on the first, which was great. The second problem you face, and this is a failure point, is when the reports become essays. And this is where, the reps will start writing paragraphs, Slack threads become cluttered, and the founder stops reading as a result. Signal turns into noise. The reason this happens is because naturally in reports, people may over-explain things or include things on what isn't needed. They need clarity on what to input and what not to input, and reminding as well. Now, the solution to this is to enforce structure as per the above, because even though it sounds super simple, you'll be surprised by how many people go off track, okay? So that's why you want to make sure that they're reporting on what needs to be reported on and nothing, extra or additional, because then it just causes things to become essays and it's just way too much to read and it's way too much noise. The other part where it breaks, ironically, is when you as the founder, you read everything, okay? Now, when you read everything beyond the reports, all the specificity in certain reports, okay, that was a struggle to get out for whatever reason. It can then prompt you to take unnecessary action when it's not needed. If you've got a sales manager, for example, you don't want to override them. And if you wanted to take action, you want to do it in an appropriate manner. So for example, don't publicize things on a public channel. The reason this happens is because founders tend to go through an identity struggle from doing everything and being in control of everything. Therefore, it's very hard to let go, meaning that you would naturally read everything from a state of paranoia and an identity crisis, as well as going as far as feeling like you need to act impulsively, okay? Now, the solution here is just to read the manager summary privately and do deep dives in private. Maintain the hierarchy that you've orchestrated, which has been designed, by the way, to set you free from the constraints of your business. If you don't have a manager, then this doesn't apply to you. It's just as simple as staying disciplined with reading reports accordingly and acting when necessary, okay? The other breaking point is when the sales manager becomes passive. Now, the problem here is that the manager would simply copy and paste data without any digging or any investigation on their end. There's no diagnosis, there's no intervention, and no actions taken, and it then turns this reporting infrastructure into basic admin. The reason this happens is simply because you got the wrong man in charge, wrong woman in charge, and it shouldn't happen if you fired the right person for the sales manager position, because this is just, basic knowledge. Now, the solution to this is to essentially require managers to follow the report cadence above and actually mention what was flagged, what was done about it, and what changed. Don't just get them to report numbers, get them to report on what is being done. And then a final place where this actually breaks, at least there's loads of places, but this is one of the final key places where this breaks is over tracking and metric bloat, okay? The problem here is that new metrics get added weekly, reports get longer, team disengages, and as a result, people lose control of everything because of how many different things you've got going on across these reports. More data does not equal more control. The reason this happens is because sometimes you get lost in data where you literally want to post on everything. As a result, you turn your daily reports into something that went from the bare essentials to absolutely everything, causing overwhelm and a lack of effort in inputs. The solution to this is to stick to metrics that actually matter. Follow the cadence above. If it doesn't affect revenue, it simply doesn't belong in daily reporting. Now, the integrity principle is this. The daily revenue control system, it only works right if your data is accurate, structures enforced, hierarchies respected, and the discipline is consistent, okay? If any one of these breaks, the whole system erodes and the system falls apart. So you really want to make sure that when you're plugging this system into whatever communication channel that you use, these four things are upheld. Otherwise, there's no point doing it as your data is going to be skewed, okay? So, a couple of implementation rules here for you. Each department has a dedicated Slack channel. If you don't have this in place, reports will just get messy. Have one single Slack channel where reps would submit their report. So for example, daily sales report, and then have a separate one for setters. So for example, daily setters report, and a separate one for your sales manager. For example, their name, daily report. The reports are submitted at the end of the day. It goes without saying, in an ideal world, you'd want it at a fixed time. But in our world, which is the wild, wild west, in this wonderful internet marketing space that we live in, we don't tend to work on a time-based schedule, and we work until the work gets done. So yeah, that is that. Just set you can set a fixed time where it's like, oh, it needs to be submitted by 9 p.m. or something. But guys, I promise you, some of you guys will probably still be working beyond 9 p.m. Just set the expectation to get it in at the end of the day. So yeah, no essays. Enforce a standard to adhere to, so that reports follow the outline structure to avoid fluff and unnecessary information. Founders read, not micromanage. As stated above, if you have a sales manager in place, you should leave them to it in training up the reps and overseeing setters, depending on how many setters there are, and if your sales manager to have the bandwidth to manage the setters as well. Just simply don't fall into the trap of constantly involving yourself in areas where you don't need to be. And finally, performance discussions happen privately. This is why your sales manager has their own channel, because they may raise issues and concerns that the reps simply don't need to see. It may be their opinion on marketing, certain leads, a rep underperforming, whatever it may be, okay? That's why you view it on a management level. Now, what this system will then prevent is it will prevent revenue surprises, no guessing game whatsoever, hidden booking quality issues. You'll know long in advance if there are problems with bookings and calls, forecast inaccuracy. You'll have day-to-day updates, on performance and whether you're on track on a monthly level, which then prevents any inaccuracies whatsoever, unless the data is being inputted incorrectly. Okay, this is preventable via accountability. Blame shifting. We're operating with data now, not opinions or feelings. Slack chaos. Reports are structured now, and there's no running all over the place. And then founder anxiety. Literally within the space of 15 to 30 minutes a day, you've got a full understanding of the financial health of your business and whether you're on track or not. Peace, power, and control instead of having anxiety, which being void of anxiety completely just through 15 to 30 minutes a day of your time as a busy founder is just priceless. Now, here's a 30-day outcome. If this is installed correctly, you'll have the following. Okay, you'll know exactly where your revenue is pacing daily. You'll detect show rate leaks early. You'll identify underperformance immediately. You'll trust your forecast, and you'll feel calm instead of reactive. Visibility creates control. Control creates peace, and peace enables scale. So if you still feel blind after installing this, the issue is not reporting. It's either talent, leadership, or standards. Okay, in most cases, it's standards because, again, I've spoken to loads of clients and loads of people in my network. The reason people don't follow certain things or follow certain structures is because you as the founder have not set the standards accordingly. Okay, meaning that with these standards, if you don't set it accordingly, no one's going to take it seriously, and if they don't take it seriously, they're going to miss reports and whatnot. And I've seen this to be the case time and time again. Okay, in our case, it was never that time because everyone knew what was what and what needed to be done. So look, hopefully you found this video valuable. Super simple setup, guys. And again, just to reiterate, you may be thinking, no, this is so basic. Like, what's this going to do for me? Trust me, it's going to cause an internal shift within your nervous system where you're no longer going to operate from a place of anxiety because you're no longer guessing about your day-to-day revenue. Through 15 to 30 minutes, you're going to be able to see daily reports across your entire sales function, allowing you to gauge an understanding of your numbers at hand and know exactly where the leaks are. Okay, so if you've yet to have something like this in place where it's daily reporting that gets fed straight to you, feel free to install this. It's very simple to set up. Again, we use Slack and we use Slack channels, and then it's just manual entry from the reps and setters and the sales manager. It could be automated as well, but again, it depends on how you operate. With us, we done manual entry because it's a very basic thing to do. It literally takes team members 10 minutes max at the end of the day, and the data is invaluable. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it for the video, guys. As we wrap this one up, if there's anything you want covered next, leave a comment below. If you have any questions, just reach out to me on Instagram specifically. And then the video cadence, if you're new to the channel, I drop one video a week depending on brain capacity. Okay, and what I mean by that, it just depends how fried my brain is from doing these videos, client work, and all these other things. Okay, but you'll get one video a week. Hold me accountable to that. But yeah, these are my socials. Feel free to connect with me. I'm most active on Instagram, so if you have any questions, swing me a DM, and I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers, guys. Bye.